Tilman Fertitta, you can say management, but Tilman Fertitta put out that they're willing to let things get uncomfortable. Guess what James Harden is letting you know? So am I, and I'm going to show you how uncomfortable it can really get. Because right. I'm out here with no mask in the strip club, and I can come in here and affect this whole team, let alone just not with my attitude, but with the Rona. All right, like right. John Wall, Boogie, y'all, you got Kentucky back down here, like just he's showing you the amount of control in a player's league that he has, and that's with a player that's under contract for 2 more seasons. So how far are you willing to let him torpedo what you're trying to build now down there? Like, so you just, I mean, again, they're in the West. So this season was going to be a wash anyway when you have 2 players coming off of injury to look at as being your most important players if James Harden isn't there and Boogie Cousins and James Wall. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to look at them as necessarily being a team that you think could really be a bona fide, I won't a playoff contender. I won't say a contender, but playoff contender. You know what I'm saying? Out West, because we know, good teams. Look at San Antonio. You know what I'm saying? And, they're a good team. They're just out West. Where they're a well-coached team, they're just out West. They don't have the type of talent that Pop really needs to get them back to where necessarily they need to be. I think now what's happening, because you talk about the teams, and it doesn't mean that they're totally out of it, but it was reported yesterday that the Heat are like, we good. We're not in this no more, right? And I think partially is to let those players, the Heat players, relax, because those young players know, listen, Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson know they're in that trade, and Kendrick Nunn, or some parts of that outside of the older players that they need to match the dollars of James Harden. But they know, like, dude, I may be out of here at any moment. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we going to sit here and try to get back to contending, or am I on pins and needles waiting to see am I moving for James Harden to come here or whatever? And also, when you look at the Heat, I think they only have their 2027. They only have like they got a first-round pick from years away that I think that they have necessarily left to throw in a trade like that. I think this increases the Nets' chances, because what's going to happen is with James Harden's actions, some teams are going to worry if they're going to take on that type of problem. Like, okay, I'm Team X. James Harden, you got 2 more years on you. I'm going to trade for you and bring you here. Hopefully we can get you to want to stay here, right? James tells you, I don't want to go there. You trade for him anyway. And he comes there and he does some of the same stuff he's doing in Houston. And let alone, let's say you have a good locker room, and he implodes that locker room. So our team's going to be willing to take that risk with James Harden. And the only teams that I think are going to be willing to do it are the teams that know that if they get him, he'll probably act right, like Daryl Morey will with the Sixers, and with the Nets with Kevin Durant, knowing that he wants to be with Kevin Durant.